Hello, buddy. All right, so welcome to the Mikestand. Today is Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. If you guys haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. We're going to give it a few minutes to give people a chance to show up before we get started. Let's see. Let's see. The Go Bots. The Go Bots. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. The Go Bots. Let's see. Gibbs, Cobra, and Death fighting to save the day. He never gives up. He's always there, fighting for freedom over land and air. Bump bump. G.I. Joe, real American hero. G.I. Joe is there. Ah, ah, ah. Say, up come the devil. Up jump the devil. Up jumped the devil in the white nightgown. Casper, the friendly ghost, friendliest ghost you know. He laughs and sings and dances all day. Scooby Dooby Doo, looking for you. Scooby Dooby Doo, where are ya? All the stars are here, waiting for you. Couldn't have a show without ya. Scooby, Scooby Doo. Hey Scooby, where are you? Over here. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm strong to the finish when I eat my spinach. Popeye the Sailor Man. All right, so we're at the 3-minute mark now, so I might as well talk about what's on tap for tonight then. So I got a couple articles from Bleeding Full. One of them is talking about how editorial piece or opinion piece by Avi Green in regards to how and how modern comics should not be marketed to kids until the content changes. Look at that, and also some more news. Again, Avi reporting on this coming out of some more revelations from the X-Men 97 writing staff on what they had planned to put into the show. So let's see. Hey Elk, hey Zeno and Xena are only true fictional saviors. Hey Elk, if you haven't already, if you can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here. That'd be appreciated. So with that, and we just talked about what we're going to go, and of course, we'll have the resin wrap up and the This Day in Each History segment a little later on. So with all that being said, why don't we go ahead and get into the article then? Get into the articles. All right. As always, of course, feel free to comment and or ask questions if anything here grabs your attention. And of course, Elk, you should be pretty active tonight because the two articles I'm going over are both from your favorite reporter, Avi Green. So let's go ahead and look at this first one here. One grabbed my attention earlier to cover. Oh, all right. I find the cursor here to get back. Okay, modern comics can't be marketed to children until the content changes. Article by Avi Green, published yesterday. 3rd. So here, let's go ahead and take a look at this. So, Center Daily Times interviewed the manager of Comic Cove at State College. Now, I don't know which state college, because there's a number of places that are called State College. State College, Pennsylvania, State College, Texas, State College, Maryland, I believe. So, which was also spoken about last month, about how he decided to open a specialty store. Some of the subjects raised include. Now, here's from the art. Here's the article that Avi's referencing here. 2, in brackets, Justin Barron's. Though comic books are more than just a means of entertainment, they are an art form. And throughout history, they've been responsible for tackling complex social issues. Over the years, comic books have addressed a number of topics, including drug abuse, racism, identity issues. Of course, the first two, you go back to the late 60s, early 70s, and then the identity issue, I guess, are coming up more recent. And more, Barron said. Now, Avi replying here, does he find it disappointing how in the past decade, the anti-drug messages don't seem to be working anymore, and we've still got colossal problems with racism, including anti-white. The part about quote-unquote identity issues is also fishy. And before we get to more than that, here's the part about marketing for children. So this is Avi speaking now. Back to the article here since I checked the comments. The double greens. The double greens. He also sees his comic book shop, okay, so this is from the article, as a means of connecting with the community and bringing comic books back into the worlds of children. Quote, whenever I was a kid, comic books were for everyone to read and enjoy, kids and adults alike, unquote, Barron said. Quote, they were also affordable too. Nowadays, comic books aren't as affordable as they once were, which is true. I mean, you go up from a time when they were a dime, 12 cents for like the first, like what? Let's see, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, for something like the first 4 decades that they were in existence, right? Then to nowadays where they're like $3.99, $4.99, a book, even more. Yeah, probably closer to like $6.99 actually. The rise of serious comic book collectors have inflated the market, meaning they aren't as affordable for children and teens anymore, unquote. He's hoping that the Comic Code can change that, or at least in this area. Now you see, I guess a couple kids there looking at some of the back orders, I guess. Now we get back to Avi here, of course. Avi's commentary here. Well, if he promotes any comics that deal in what was strongly hinted at earlier, like quote unquote identity issues, which could mean LGBT ideology, LGBT ideology, among other stuff, that could be be very far left and inappropriate. Then so much for hoping changes can be made for the better. Now back to the article here. When a customer steps foot inside the store, they'll be greeted on one side by comic books in boxes listed in alphabetical order, and on the other side, a glass display bookcase and several shelves showcasing some of the most valuable comic books that Barron's has to offer. The most rare comic books in the store are two pieces published by the Timely Comics Publishing Company, back in the 40s. According to Barron's, those two comics were made during a time period when a paper shortage was ongoing, meaning that the comics were more difficult to come by. They cost around $1,600 a piece. Let's see. The shop sells playing cards for Pokemon and Magic the Gathering games as well, with Barron's planning on building 2 new rooms in the store for card tournament play. And then we get back to Avi here speaking, but before I read that, let me see if there's any. Nope, not yet. All right. And if you guys haven't already, of course, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, as we continue on here with this article, as I might have noted earlier, MTG, or Magic the Gathering, is a card franchise that's said to have undergone terrible PC changes, not for the better. So what's the use of selling them now? That aside, if the store was really serious about promoting comics as an art form for reading, they wouldn't be going to such lengths to promote collecting high-priced pamphlets for speculators as they are here. $1,500 may not be as much as what Golden Age Superman and Batman pamphlets sell for these days. But it's still way too much, and crystal clear, no speculator who buys them is going to read them as well. And the issues will likely be slabbed in hard plastic, unreadable, unless someone opens the casing. I guess these are some of the examples they're given right here. From the look of it looks like 2 copies of the same book, in fact. All right, so if Comic Cove's proprietor is serious about promoting reading material for children, then at least 2 key issues must be taken into consideration. Anything actually aimed at children cannot contain elements that are considered unsuitable, like what leftists promote these days. And it would do a lot of good if paperback hardcover formats are requested as a way to sell for children consumption to boot. No joke. And I kind of agree with that. I think if your aim is to sell more comic books to children, they got to be more age appropriate. I'm not just simply talking about the agenda pushing, the woke agenda pushing. I'm just talking about certain, even if it was coming from the right, let's say. Again, I've made this perfectly clear. I don't really think they should, if you're if you're trying to market comics for children, I don't think you should really put anything overtly sexual in the comics either. That's totally age inappropriate for children. As I've said, the only extent that kids should know about their genitalia is that the fact they're used for waste disposal. That's about it. And just the simple fact that boys are born with one set of organs, girls are born with another. So that's about the extent, but that's just my take on it. Yeah. Oh, it looks like we have a couple more comments here. Avi is throwing spaghetti at the wall as he does, not making much of an argument. For instance, Magic the Gathering is still quite profitable. Why not? Why not sell? Why not sell them? Well, yeah, I mean that's true. I mean, particularly the older stuff. Particularly the older stuff there. Um, but I think he's gonna. I think he's gonna still try to like expound a little bit here as we move forward here. So let's just continue. Let's continue on and see what's going on here. Let's see how he does try. Let's see if and how he does try to validate his point here. So the kind of absurd serial fiction format of the pamphlet is no longer viable, and specialists in comicdom have to show the courage to break free of the influence. Store managers have to prove they can actually raise these issues themselves or not bother making the points they are already. If they can't ask hard questions out of worry the publishers might boycott them, that kind of cowardice is ruining everything. All right, so I think he kind of hits on a point there. So, wow, and that was it for that part of the article. Okay, but I think I think he did kind of make a decent point at the very end there. Um, so let me get ready to move on to the next feature here, next story here. 18 minutes, so. So the movie TV stream. Get into another article I kind of saw. And here's the other Avi article I was talking about. I'm sure, Elk, you might have some critique. You might not. Let's see what he says here. All right, more troubling comments from writing staff of Disney's X-Men '97. Article by Avi Green, published today, June 4th, 2024. So Marvel Studios X-Men '97. Let's see. So no film school spoke with one of the writing staff on the X-Men '97 cartoon named Anthony. With one of the writing staff on the X-Men '97 cartoon named Anthony Salidi, who sure makes clear what kind of people see themselves entitled to Lee Kirby's Silver Age team titled creation. At the beginning, there's also quite a sugar-coated comment made. So no film. I guess no film school might be some kind of, I don't know, newspaper, news site or whatever. I guess this is coming from that article that Avi's referencing himself, which is why it's such a delight that its sequel series, Marvel Animation's X-Men '97, is so damn good it's almost hard to believe. And in our state of blockbuster superhero malaise, so refreshing to see such a great comic book adaptation. All right. And then Avi, I guess, replies to that remark here, saying, "Oh, no doubt their writer said that most deliberately, even though Rogue's character design was watered down so badly, so it's okay to depict more bloodshed and profanity. But for a girl like Rogue to be sexy is not allowed. That's classic moral hypocrisy right there. They must also be using the now deteriorating state of comic movies to cover their tracks, even though this cartoon already suffers some of the same problems that affected live action films." And I've caught you guys, and Elkin, you've heard me talk about this, and anybody, and some of you, if there's any others who've been around a while in the chat, you guys have heard me talk about this, how the whole idea of desexualizing Rogue takes away from a key part of her character. You know. Hi, hey Rick. I Rick saw your shield in the harbor video. Awesome. All right. I won't say great comic book adaptation. Yeah, Rogue's juicy ass was MIA. Yeah. I mean, again, the whole idea. There is something about having her be sexier to draw people. Because remember, her power is through skin to skin contact. She can drain anybody's energy, right? You know, you know. So it's one of those things where I'm reminded. Of course, one of the ways I'm kind of reminded was when was in the episode back in the series. This, of course, was spun off of the 92 to 97 X-Men series. I remember when Storm and Rogue went to visit Beast in prison, and Rogue, playing up her Southern Belle gimmick, got the guard's attention enough, and he decided to touch her hand. As she was being all flirty, and then she, once he touched her hand, there you go. Nobody's going to be as inclined to act so friendly if Rogue was flat chested and flat reared. So Rogue is a metamorph for a vagina. No, not exactly. I mean, no, her mutant power is the ability to drain anybody's energy from drain anybody's energy through skin to skin contact. That's her mutant power. It puts and she can't touch. It's like it's one of those classic. It's the old. You can look, but you can't touch, because if you touch, then you're gonna have your life energy sucked out of you. And if you're a mutant, you're gonna have your power sucked out of you. Your power sucked out of you for a little bit as well. So, But anyways, moving on with the article here. And I guess here's the thing that we saw before. The one on the left is from the 92-97 series, and then the one on the right is from the, in terms of focusing on a rear end, as it were. And then here's Avi responding here. And then here's a bit of the interviewee's background, so the one being interviewed. So, and then this from the article. Quote, I came to the X-Men at a really young age. I'm from Staten Island and I grew up gay and in the closet. And the original X-Men show really meant a lot to me. It was my portal into what that world was and the comic books and the idea of found family and acceptance. And all that really resonated with me. And think a lot of my storytelling instincts came from X-Men, from the comics, and I just really dove into that world. So basically, he grew up a closeted gay guy. So once he got a chance to try to play that out, probably been chomping at the bit to put that into a X-Men comic. So, anyways, um, she drains people's energy through contact. That's a metamorph for sexy times. Okay. Anyways, and then I guess this is Avi speaking out. I just don't understand how people like him see creations like these as literally reflecting his mindset, but nobody else's. Or it's an embarrassing disgrace they do, mainly because quite often these days LGBT practitioners seem to be the only ones who make such a big deal out of X-Men, quote unquote, representing their ideology, while nobody else seems to say if they think it serves as a good metaphor for being Israeli, Hungarian, um, Tanzanian, Thai, or Uruguayan. Um, and maybe people who of such nationality should, if only to counter this reprehensible LGBT propaganda that's become a sad staple in modern times. And this is back from the article, of course. Um, as I started to write and make shorts, so this is the interviewee being responding here. As I started to write and make shorts and direct my own, I was finally in a place where I was lucky enough to come work on the show and bring my own sensibility to the X-Men. Unquote. And that's kind of the new version of Morph right there. And an Avi responds here by saying, and if the Morph mess said something, he sure did. As much as Bo DeMaio, who comes up next, in brackets here, quote, the writer's room was, in brackets there, three of us ultimately. So it was like, well, we really just felt like, as fans of the original show, it was this amazing dream to pick up this baton and try and carry forward what we thought would be meaningful. The 90s was such an amazing time in comics, and Bo, brackets DeMaio, the head writer, definitely had a firm idea of things that he wanted to explore. And we wanted to hit some of the untouched Chris Claremont era stories that the old really hadn't had a chance to get, but not play karaoke with them, to sort of have them serve this larger narrative that was moving the thematic argument forward. So basically, the idea was they just didn't want to adapt the show. they wanted to turn it into one big propaganda piece. That's, I think, what he's basically admitting there. Avi's kind of an idiot. X-Men represent many who feel like they don't belong. That is a Canadian that is a condition shared by many, especially as teenagers. Well, I think he does kind of touch upon that with his, when he, I don't know if I'd call him an idiot, you know, um because I think he does touch upon that in a statement where he's talking also about, well, I mean, I think what he's basically saying is that it would seem the LGBT community seems to, let's say, harp on that point more than other groups, or try to make a bigger deal out of it than other groups, who feel that way would. I think, I think that's what his point is. Again, he sure did, and they certainly put forth what they alone considered "quote unquote" meaningful, including the themes, no doubt. And where else did they draw ideas from? So that was Avi speaking. Now back to the interviewee. Quote, we pulled some stuff from Graham Morrison 2000s era. We also talked about how the Lewalds, when they did the original show, and just to say Eric and Julia Lewald are the sweetest human beings in the world. They took the Claremont era stories, but also took stuff that was happening in the modern comics around them at the time in the 90s and folding that into the show. So we also looked a little bit to Morrison and the 2000s era, taking some of the DNA of those stories, but wrapping it in 90s style in a way. So that's where the attack on Genosha comes from. The Morrison run and Fatal Attractions were very important to me as a kid. That was one of the first comics that I read. And I remember having the trading card when Wolverine gets his adamantium pulled out. And I was like, oh my God, that could happen? Holy bleep. It just stuck with me for a very long time. To be able to write that and bring that to the screen was very cool and very weird. And then I think we're getting back to Avi speaking here. LGBT teenagers are very often rejected by their families and have to find found family at school, unlike other groups who at least have the support of their families. Yeah, but in some cases, like in the case of Jewish people, their families also suffer, that feeling of kind of being there. There have been periods in history where, for example, Jewish people have suffered where they've gone into some communities and have been somewhat rejected by said communities, I mean, look at what happened in World War II, where, a lot of Jewish people, including Anne Frank, had to go underground because, the people of Nazi Germany were literally trying to exterminate them. So, you know. Yes, like Magneto. Correct. I think now, Avi speaking here, I think he means Grant Morrison. And if that's whom they considered a writer worth drawing from, I guess that figures too. If they drew from Scott Lobdell's writing, even he isn't exactly considered an auteur by today's standards. And last time I looked, hasn't been involved with the X-Men for over 2 decades. It was decidedly insulting to the intellect how in Morrison's run, Genosha was destroyed only for the sake of getting rid of what Quesada and company apparently believed was too many, quote unquote, too many mutants, even though it could all phased out without resorting to mass slaughter. His information suggests X-Men 97 suffers from being run by the same kind of people who also produced the recent Frog and Toad cartoon and turned it into a self-indulgent celebration. Goodness knows, and this is Avi speaking again, how many more of these franchises are being put in the hands of such woke ideologues who then proceed to turn them into something representing their own selfish, entitled beliefs, exactly why there's no point tuning in to view these on TV, let alone streaming services. All right, so that's it for the articles tonight. He's already in the series too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, with that, as I said, okay, so now we're 39 minutes. So we actually did do quite a bit of. Boy. Alrighty then. So with that, I think it's a good time to move on to the wrestling wrap up, as we do have some of course some stuff to go over from of course last night. As WWE held its Monday Night Raws, they continued their march towards towards Clash at the Castle coming up here in a little under 2 weeks away on the 15th over in Glasgow, Scotland. So on last night's he never argued what Frog and Toad have to do with anything. He just barfs it into an article. Yeah, I mean, that would have probably helped people understand why that was in there. Unless he's assuming that everybody's reading is, and if he is, that'd be kind of dumb too. If he's assuming that everybody has watched, Frog and Toad, he's assuming that people would know exactly what he was talking about. But then, I don't know if you've heard the old saying, when you practice to assume, you make an ass out of you and me. If you've ever heard that saying before. But anyways, I said let's talk a little bit about some wrestling news here. So on last night's Monday Night Raw, of course, Ludwig Kaiser defeated Sheamus in a one-on-one match, and not in a match that was said to taken you know basically stolen the show, as it were. Finn Balor of the Judgment Day defeated Dragon Lee in a one-on-one match. Um, Braun Breaker defeated Ricochet in what could be one of Ricochet's last matches, as his contract is due up, I believe, sometime in the near future here. Kiara James defeated Natalia. Braun Strowman defeated Carlito, and then afterwards suffering at the hands of an attack by Judgment Day. And then Bianca Belair in a match for the WWE Women's Tag Team title. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill retained over Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark via DQ. Another tag team match. The Authors of Pain, Akam and Razor, with Paul Ellering, Karrion Kross, and Scarlett in their corner. To the New Day duo of Kofi Kingston and Damian Woods. And in the main event, in a non-title match, Damian Priest defeated Rey Mysterio in the main event. After the match, in a furthering setting up their match at Clash of the Castle on June 15th, Drew McIntyre, I believe, was attacked Damian Priest. After the match. So that's all. It's all from Monday Night Raw last time. Now, of course, in both WWE and in WWE and in AEW, there's some more news, as both companies have confirmed specific releases. On the WWE side of it, of course, they've confirmed the departures of Scripps, Drew Gulak, and I think one other person from the company. AEW has confirmed the departures of Jake Hager, Paige Van Zant, Mark Henry, and Arn Anderson from their company. So, and we've already talked a little bit about like what some people are. What I've talked a little bit about, like what Mark Henry and Arn Anderson are said to be planning on doing. What they've talked about, what they might be doing once they were left the respective companies there. There has been some rumors floating around that the possibility WWE might be looking to bring Arn in. Maybe Cody has thought about bringing Arn back to kind of be his manager, what have you. But Arn himself has even said, however, that he at this point in his life would rather focus on helping his son Brock, as right now Brock is teaming with C.W. Anderson, Chris Wright, in an indie company down in North Carolina. They're currently the tag team champions of said company. I believe Arn's been kind of being the corner man for him, again, just focusing on helping his son out as opposed to getting involved in anything elsewhere. So, and one last piece of one last piece of wrestling note, before we move on to this day in each history. As for those who would be interested in watching NWA Power tonight on the CW website, 2 more first round matches of the Crockett Cup, which actually took place on May 18th, but will be shown those later on. The two of the first round matches of the Crockett Cup that will be taking place on tonight's Power episode. The Country Gentlemen of the Kazana brothers, AJ and Casey Kazana, with Joe Kazana in their corner, take on the Savages of Samoa of Alofa and Adi Valu. In the other first round match of the Crockett Cup, the Immortals, the team of Kratos and Odinson, take on the Kids of Jackson Drake and Alexander Lev. And in the main event, the number one contender triple threat match, Ella Envy, who will be cornered by Miss Star, the daughter of Baby Doll, will be taking on Taylor Rising and Kylie Page. Kylie Page, of course, her former women's world tag team partner, as Pretty Empowered. Ella Envy, of course, has established herself as a tag team specialist. Baylor being a 3-time women's world tag team champion with 3 different partners, all representing, Pretty Empowered. The first with current NWA World Women's Champion Kenzie Page, and then with Roxy, and then her latest, or third, with Kylie Page. So that's all that's going on. Now we're done with the wrestling wrap up here. Got all the wrestling news in there. So with that now with all that being said, now it's time for us to today being Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. Let's take a look back at this day in each history. So 1974, and 2014. All right, so first off, we're going to head back 75 years. As on this date, 75 years ago today, back in 1949, the Warner Brothers Merry Melodies cartoon Bowery Bugs, which was directed by Arthur Davis, written by Lloyd Turner and Bill Scott, premiered in theaters on this date back in 1949. It features Bugs Bunny. Cartoon tells the story of Steve Brody, who reportedly jumped out the Brooklyn Bridge in 1886 and survived. So, and I had actually seen this cartoon within the last few months here. Pretty interesting. So, on this date, 75 years ago today, the Warner Brothers Merry Melodies cartoon Bowery Bugs premiered in movie theaters on this date back in 1949. Now moving ahead to 1974. On this date in 1974, up in Portland, Oregon, Jimmy Snuka would regain the NWA Pacific Northwest heavyweight title from Ripper Collins. So this is before he came to the WWE, before that great leap. Jimmy Snuka would regain on this date 50 years ago today, back in 1974, the late great Snuka would regain the NWA Pacific Northwest heavyweight title from Ripper Collins in Portland. And finally, on this date 10 years ago today, in 2014, on this date in 2014, 10 years ago today, the 15th issue of Great Pacific from Image Comics went on sale on newsstands on this date back in 2014. Image Comics, the 15th issue of Image Comics Great Pacific went on sale on this date back 10 years ago, 2014. It sold for $2.99, 38 pages. The story was written by Joseph Harris with art by Martin Manazzo and lettered by Michael David Thomas. So with that, I think so that's it that's all the news I have for you guys tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Be back here tomorrow night with more Niche news. I'll have, of course, Rick on with me tomorrow night. To go over stuff. And don't forget, Thursday we'll be going over the Indie Comics. Thursday we'll likely be going over the Indie Comics Showcase. Friday, of course, Rick will be back with me again to as we'll be looking back to comics that went on sale in February 1940 in our historical comic retrospect from Standard Comics. We'll be looking at, of course, Thrilling Comics, Volume 1, Issue 3, and Exciting Comics, Volume 1, Issue 1. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.